The past year has seen a 1,900% rise in anti-Asian hate crime in New York City alone, with 2,800 incidents reported across 47 states and Washington, D.C. This is a national crisis, and we need your help to call it out. Call it a crime. Call it what it is: racism. Let's stand up together against hate. Learn more at stopaapihate.org.
Hello, I'm Aldo Gandia, the president and founder of the Barroom Network. There are an estimated 22 million Asian American and Pacific Islanders living in the United States. Despite this amount, a recent study showed that 42% of all Americans were unable to name a famous Asian American. That speaks to the underrepresentation of Asian Americans in our media world. What is even more disturbing is the increase in hate crimes aimed toward the AAPI community. Add to that the rampant and hurtful stereotypes our fellow citizens still endure, and it is clear that our little media company here must do something to help. When Steven Negishi approached me with the idea of doing a sports and entertainment show hosted by Asian Americans, I jumped at the opportunity to add this important program to our catalog of over 24 programs. Steven has enlisted the co-hosting and co-producing help of Ken Fang. The two of them will present to you faces and voices we rarely see and hear in the mainstream media. They call their show the Double A Team, and I'm proud to help present their debut episode right now.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Aldo, for that great introduction. My name is Ken Fang. I'm an associate editor at Awful Announcing, and I'm also had my own sports media blog, Fang's Bites, that was running since 2007. I've been a purveyor and also a chronicler of the sports media since that time, and I've been continuing to do so. And as someone in the AAPI community, I am very proud to have this show and on the Barroom Network. My co-host will be Steven Negishi. Steven, I'm so glad to have you with us, and just give us a quick introduction on who you are as well.
Thank you very much. And once again, Aldo with a phenomenal opening, highlighting the AAPI racism that has plagued this country. My name is Steven Negishi. I have been a participant on the Barroom Network, particularly after the Bears game. I befriended Aldo since late last year. And as Aldo mentioned in the opening, I reached out to him about starting this show to highlight the AAPI personalities working in sports and entertainment. I'm residing in Detroit area as of right now as an IT engineer. Obviously not related to sports like Ken is, but I'm very, very passionate about it. About Chicago sports, and I'm very, very thankful for the Barroom Network for giving both of us this opportunity to highlight the AAPI racism as well as the personalities in the industry that truly deserves their a spotlight.
And we'll be talking about a lot of issues that not only affect the AAPI community, but sports in general. Our first segment will always have a back and forth, a little discussion about what's going on in sports media. And we also have a guest in our second segment. And then Steve and I will talk about whatever we feel like in the third segment. This week, we're going to talk about the NFL. Steven is based in Detroit, as he said. I am based in Rhode Island. As New Englanders like to think, the hotbed of sports all in general, but as we know, sports is loved by all over the country, and it's just not one area that is particularly a hotbed. So, Stephen, let's first start off our first segment tonight. Breaking as we are just taping this show is the fact that John Gruden is resigning as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. It was so happened that it's been leaked about some racial tropes that he had said while he was the commentator of the ESPN's Monday Night Football many years back. However, they came to light just recently, and some of the stuff that has come out is just very disturbing. Stuff he said about NFL Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, talking him in really embarrassing terms, and also really embarrassing terms for Gruden, and also having some really embarrassing stuff of talking in sexist terms as well, and having a email conversation with then Washington football team general manager Bruce Allen, who he had worked with in Tampa Bay. Steven, this is just shocking news, but at the same time, stuff that really had to that has come out and has forced Gruden to resign. And to be honest with you, I don't think he's going to be working in the NFL anymore.
No, and you're right. What a way to start the show. And the information started to leak out from the Wall Street Journal probably around Friday, and then it carried over into the weekend. Watching the Bears and the Las Vegas Raiders on television, never did I thought that it would lead to his resignation tonight. But 10 years ago or not, I think what happened with Gruden is just that it's not about cancel culture. It's just the matter of consequences, in my opinion. And you're absolutely right. I think there is no way Gruden will be able to lead any team in the NFL or even appear on television like he did back in the day. And I used to enjoy him with Mike Tirico on Monday Night Football, and I think a lot of people enjoy the candor and the interaction that back in the day. But those days seem like a distant memory.
Yeah, and what's interesting on Sunday night, both Mike Tirico, and excuse my dog Samson, who's barking in the background, but you also have Mike Tirico and Tony Dungy,
right?
Speaking
Yes.
on NBC's Football Night in America during the delay of the Buffalo Bills Kansas City Chiefs game. And unfortunately, you had them kind of defending Gruden at the time. And of course, Tirico had to talk about how Gruden was someone who was his friend and still is his friend, but talking in glowing terms. And unfortunately, that came out, as we now have seen a day later, quite embarrassing for both of them.
I'm not going to chalk everything up to racism. I think we accept his apology, move forward, and move on just like he did with his team.
Yeah, I think in being honest with the audience, I should weigh in a little bit here because I was with John at that time. 7 years as my partner on Monday Night Football. I probably know John better than anybody in the league on a personal level. He said it right. He was ashamed by the comments in the email. The comments in the email are wrong. But my experience kind of parallels Tim Brown, who played for John, Hall of Fame wide receiver. He said he never experienced or saw anything that would say John was racist in any way. That is exactly the experience I had those 7 years of traveling 3 days together on the road every week. So the story will continue to play out. The league may.
Yes, it is. And Mike himself has had a trouble on his own, with the sexual harassment allegations. And, I can see why he came out and in support of, Gruden, a longtime partner on Monday Night Football, as I alluded earlier, and had a fantastic chemistry, between them. And I think there are a lot of people who enjoy watching both gentlemen. Gruden for his, analysis, and Tirico for his commentating. So it's unfortunate that it had to come to an end. And I'm sure Mike will probably feel a little bit under the radar or under the gun tonight, obviously, having been Gruden's longtime friend and a partner. But, I don't know how much he can actually defend Gruden on this one.
No, you really can't, Stephen. And we'll be talking more about that with our guest coming up tonight in our second segment. But it's really shocking how this has happened and how it's come about really in the last few days, how all this information has leaked and how it came about and how quickly it resulted in Gruden's resignation on Monday night. Our second topic we want to speak about is what happened last week in the American League Championship, American League wildcard game, in which Boston Red Sox announcer and also from ESPN, Sean McDonough, made a derogatory comment about the San Francisco Giants general manager.
By the Red Sox 92 wins. Tell me who saw San Francisco's 107 wins coming.
Maybe nobody outside of Farhan Zaidi and Gabe Kapler. They just did an unbelievable job. And who knows, maybe we can have a World Series reunion.
Your GM's name is High Anxiety.
Here's the pitch to Kike. Fouled back our way. Farhan Zaidi.
Oh, okay.
Architect of a lot of great teams, and he's just been brilliant for them.
Two teams.
Steven, it's I hate to say this. I don't want to defend Sean McDonough because I'm very familiar with his work, grew up with his work here in the New England area. But I don't think, have you heard any apology from him in regards to what he said about the San Francisco Giants general manager?
Last time I checked, I don't think he has made any apologies regarding that. Help me, is San Francisco Giants GM, is that Fareed Zaidi?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I don't know what prompted McDonough to even make that comment, to be quite honest, to begin with. And the ultimate irony is we started with the Gruden story. McDonough also worked with Gruden
yes.
after Tirico left to go to NBC for a few years. So I'm wondering, did Gruden's antics kind of rubbed on McDonough in the wrong way, or being from obviously with the Boston's dubious history when it comes to racism in the sports media. We can also go back to Christian Fourier, former Patriots tight end and now talk show host up in Boston, making fun of Tom Brady's agent, Don Yee, who is a very prominent name in the Asian American business community a while ago. So there is a strong history when it comes to racism.
Yeah.
By the Boston sports media people, unfortunately.
It's difficult for me because I like Sean. I have met Sean personally. I don't think that he meant to make the comment in a derogatory manner. I think he was trying to make a joke. It just came out very poorly. I know he said about high anxiety, and then he said his name, the general manager's name, correctly after that. I think San Francisco Giants fans are still in arms and would like Sean to apologize for that. He has yet to do so. Sean is going to be calling the NHL on ESPN on NHL's premiere this week in its first game. So he has not made any public statement in regards to that. But it would be nice to hear something, at least acknowledging the San Francisco Giants fans, because, in this day and age, I know people are criticizing woke and being in cancel culture, of course, as we talked about, but still, it would be nice for Sean to apologize for that, or at least acknowledge what he said was wrong.
Absolutely. And Jim Cott made a similar, stupid statement. Yes. I believe it was the Astros and the White Sox game.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've seen of Moncada, but everybody talks of this guy should be a star, an all-star.
That's what they look like. I don't know about the rest of it. First time I saw him in the big leagues, I looked around the dugout and I said, "Can we have one of those?" That's what they look like.
Get a 40-acre field full of them.
I mean,
player. So, and then he immediately apologized. I think in the next inning or so. So, it's a black guy in the baseball, obviously. Ken, you and I had a very brief discussion leading up to this show about the racism that Shohei Ohtani had to endure this summer, starting with Stephen A. Smith's comment about translator stuff, that he can't be the face of baseball.
I don't think it helps that the number one face is a dude that needs an interpreter so you can understand what the hell he's saying in this country. And that's what I'm trying to say. In other sports.
And then, as somebody living in the Detroit area, I had to hear former Major League pitcher and the Tigers legend Jack Morris embarrasses himself on air, making very, very terrible Asian accents about Shohei Ohtani's at bat. Some people were defending him like Elmer Fudd, but it was a poor taste, and he was suspended immediately, and then eventually was reinstated. But those are some of the stuff that you and I, as well as the AAPI, have had to deal with for many decades, and not to mention whitewashing in the Hollywood movies and televisions.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that we'll be discussing more about in the coming weeks with Steven and I as we go along with the AA team. And we're very happy to have this show in our premiere episode on the Barroom Network. Steven, we have a guest upcoming, and why don't you tell us who we have coming up?
Sure. Our very first guest, we're very excited. He's actually not stranger in the Chicago media. He is currently the writer for Notre Dame Wired with the USA Today Network. He used to be a producer with the 670 The Score. His name is Mikey Chen. And thanks for joining us, Mikey, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'm pretty excited about being your first guest. It's pretty neat.
Well, thank you so much. For those of us out there, please introduce yourself and explain to your audience your background.
Sure. So, I went to Ohio State in undergrad, and I got a degree in sports management. To be honest with you, I probably should have done broadcasting back then, but as a 18, 20-year-old, 22-year-old guy, your mind's not in the right place. It took me a couple of years to decide to go back to school, and I always told myself, hey, look, if you're going to go back to school, you're going to go back to school for something that you want to do. And broadcasting always just appealed to me, and I would listen to ESPN and 670 all the time on the radio, and they continue to blast these commercials about Illinois Media School, and so I gave them a visit. I said, it's time for me to kind of make this choice. I did it a little bit later in life, but I figured, hey, if I was going to do something like this, I'm going to put my all to it and really kind of focus my career again and kind of redo everything, kind of start with a fresh slate. And, the course was pretty simple. I wouldn't say simple, actually. I'd say it's 9 months. It's kind of a crash course. But in that 9 months, I learned so much. I impressed some people. At one point in time, I made the top 3 of 670 The Score's Fantasy Football Challenge. I didn't win it, unfortunately, but I impressed enough people for them to actually want me to come in for a job interview. I was employed by them before I finished school. So, my media career kind of, all in the span of about 9 months, it went from 0 to 100, which was a great jump off to my career. I grinded it out at 670 for a couple of years, working the overnight shifts. It's not, to be honest with you guys, it's not something that, works out for everybody. I saw multiple guys come in before me, come in after me that just couldn't handle it. I put my mind to it. I said, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue to do this. I'm going to stay with it, regardless of what it was. And, I watched some guys and, they were, unfortunately they got, some, I wouldn't say promotions, but, they were given more duties and I wanted that. And, ultimately I kind of worked my way into a position where I could get a little bit more. I started to, do Bears highlights, which is a very important role there at the station because as we all know, in Chicago, the Bears run this city. Whether they're good, whether they're bad, everyone loves the Bears. And, look, what network are we on? It's, this is started by, the network was started for the Bears. And so I just grinded. And, ultimately what I got to a point where, the head man in charge over there, Mitch Rosen, I continually told him, hey, look, like, I don't think you're utilizing my skill set in the proper way. I can get out there and I could, I do more than just push a couple buttons. And ultimately, he let me cover the Big Ten about 3.5 years ago. Went to Big Ten Media Day. I don't think he was really expecting me to do anything, but I said, hey, look, if I'm going there, I'm representing 670, I'm going to bring you content. And, first go around at that, I had done, semi-professional football and some high school as well. But, to be honest with you, it's just not quite at that same level. And, I went there and, I sent Cody, the web editor, I sent him an article, and I really just wanted feedback, to be honest with you. And it's a 2-day event. It's a Thursday and a Friday. I sent him the article on Saturday, and Monday morning I got tagged on Twitter with by 670's account, and I was like, wait, what is this? I don't know what's going on. Cody Westerland posted my story, and that was the break that I needed. I had an opportunity to finally, be a published writer, which was, a big goal of mine. And, ultimately you get to that point and then you just start to grow. And, I was able to write an article every week starting the Big Ten. I got a chance to go to the Big Ten championship game out in Indianapolis. My alma mater was playing that game and they won. And for me to kind of go back and to, be involved with those guys again and go through the locker room and do some interviews and be on the field when, all the confetti's blowing down and everything. And that's just, it's just something else. And then a couple months later, Nick Shipkowski, the managing editor out there at Fighting Irish Wire, he was a coworker of mine at 670, and he said, "Hey, man," he goes, "I got an opportunity for you. You want to write for us?" And I said, "Yes." Opportunities like that to work for a place like the USA Today don't come along very often, and I took that opportunity. And that's kind of, where I am right now. The pandemic was difficult on everybody, obviously. Personally, it was a little bit different because, my girlfriend, her family had this massive, issue with her father that I won't get into, but it changed everything for us. It really did. We had to be, extremely careful about what we were doing. And, unfortunately, kind of due to some things that were happening over there at the station, I had to leave, which was difficult for me because I worked so hard to get to that point, and, but in all honesty, though, everything worked out, and it worked out in my eyes. I think it worked out great. I could focus a little bit more on my writing. I wasn't kind of bumped onto their schedule. I got a job working at a TV station as well. Not on air, but working on it. I think I'm gonna get there eventually. Again, another grind. You get into a job and you just kind of grind, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I also got a position with Prep Red Zones as a football scout. So kind of tying everything together with football. So. That's my story. I know I took a lot of your time there, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
No. It's a fantastic story. I also studied sports management after I graduated in Japan, and my goal was to get a job in sports management as well. And it unfortunately didn't work out, and I took a long road, and then I ended up in IT. So it didn't work out the way I had hoped for, but as long as I'm making a decent living with the people that I enjoy working with, it all matters. But I guess there were some layoffs during this pandemic all across the country, and I don't think sports media were no exceptions, unfortunately. And I know 670 probably went through that as well. Was this were you one of the people who unfortunately were let go around that time?
No. I ultimately made a decision for myself. They did let go. The majority of people that they actually ended up letting go were full timers. I wasn't a full time person at that point in time. I was still a part timer, but In all honesty, it was just, it was a decision that, just made the most sense for myself. Like I said, I you occasionally have to work an overnight shift here and there, and that's rough on your body, on your mind. And I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm getting over there to get a little bit older, and I just physically, mentally, I just that was something that I said in my mid early 30s I could handle that. In my late 30s, that was just it's just mentally, it's just physically, it's just taxing, and it wasn't just meant to be there.
Mike, I know certainly how it is to work an overnight shift, having been in radio and working a 13-month news shift overnights, and when nothing happens, it's tough on you. But certainly know that grind. And you said you saw people getting promoted over you. How did you manage to keep going when you knew that things weren't going your way? How did you manage to keep going at that point?
Yeah, that was rough. It wasn't just once either. It was multiple times, and it's when you look at the demographic of who it was, they were white males, and it was difficult for me, really difficult, because not only were they white males that were passing me, they were white males that had less experience than me, and that was difficult for me. It really was, but I just some things you can't control, and something like that was not in my control. And to this day, and I tell everybody that I come across, especially some of the young men that I have to deal with the high school football recruiting, I tell them, look, there are some things in life that you can control. There are some things in life that you can control. You focus on what you can control, and you do that to your best ability, and you're going to come out on top, and you will. And that's kind of my mindset when I saw other people getting more opportunities than me and getting promoted over me. I said, look, hey, I can't do that's. Something that it's not my choice. It's not in my control. What is in my control, that I can work hard and continue to work hard and get better at what I'm doing and work on my craft. So it's difficult to see that, but when you have a mindset like I put myself into, where it's just something that I can't do anything about it. So what I can do is work harder and get better and continue to improve. So that's what I did.
I totally see that, Mike, and in the way that you hustle and some of the stories that you've written. But also, too, I can relate to that because as someone who has been in your shoes and had heard and been promoted by seeing other people who are not as qualified as you and perhaps not have the same experience, you can get frustrated by that. And you can just, do one of two things, as you mentioned, either work harder and do the best you can and look for another opportunity to work, or you can just get bitter over it. And so that's one thing that I think you have great advice over to work over the things you can control over the stuff that you can't control.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, that's exactly it, man. You guys, and all the listeners out there, that it's life. It really is. And life throws your curveball when you're waiting for a fastball, and you got to adjust. And if you don't adjust, you're going to be sitting on the bench, dragging your bat back there, and kind of slumping your head and looking down. But there's always, I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. I look at things and I'm like, yeah, didn't work out for me there, but another door is going to open for me at some point in time. And when that happens, you got to take full advantage of it. So, just positive attitude, man. That's all. That's being in this media industry, it's so difficult. It really is. And if you don't have a positive attitude, you're not going to get very far. So just keep with it, keep churning, keep chugging, and you'll get there. You'll eventually break the barrier and you get to where you want to go.
Well, Mike, really appreciate the positiveness that you were telling us. The story behind our show, obviously, trying to give people like you the spotlight that you deserve, but also highlight the AAPI racism that has plagued this country. We can't ignore that. But you've said that the industry has a serious problem, and that obviously your story sort of underscores that we AAPI people have to do to be taken more seriously. Did you ever thought about maybe the reason why you were being passed over by other, candidates who were less qualified than you? Did the racism kind of, came across in your mind?
Yeah, 100% it did, multiple times. It's difficult because when you looked at it, it was literally, like I said before, it was white males that were passing me. And in a first of all, male sports media, male driven, right? Let's be real here. The majority of sports media figures are males. So the issues that AAPI, minorities, Hispanics, African Americans, women, all of us, we are all kind of lumped into this, area. And it's difficult. It really is. And, again, it's something that, it's not necessarily in my control, but it hurts though. I mean, with anything, when you see someone that, hasn't done what you've done and they're getting more opportunities for you, and you see this common theme that it's not a person of color, it's not an AAPI, it's not an African American, it's not Hispanic, it's not a Black American. It really is difficult. It's a hard pill to swallow. And again, there's some things you just can't do anything about. But I just wish that in not just in sports media, but literally in everything that we do, it's merit. If you're qualified, what does it matter what your last name is, what your skin color is? That doesn't matter. That shouldn't matter. If you're qualified for the position, if you've got the experience, if you've got the education, you should be a candidate for the job, not because of your skin color and what your last name is. And so, yes, it's difficult. I mean, it'd be difficult for anybody to be in that situation and watch it. But, as a minority and kind of being filled in a room with other non-minority people, white men, it's difficult because, you work hard, and then you see, white males continue to have that opportunity over you, and with no real reason.
Upward mobility, right?
So, it's really difficult. It's something that, it wasn't, it weighed heavy for a little while. And, like I said, I'm always that, the positive guy. And, for a little bit, you're down in the dumps and you're angry and you're not happy about the situation. Right. But, at the end of the day, unfortunately, I don't have the say in that. That's not my decision. So, you just kind of, you put your head down and you just work as hard as you can to show them that they made the wrong decision.
And we bring it around full circle, Mike, and the story that is breaking tonight as of this taping, the story about John Gruden and the racism that he has spewed in the past. And of course, he tries to deny that he's a racist, but it just goes to show how far we really have to overcome, especially when we see comments like this, comments from people who should know better, who are who are A-listers in sports media, and yet they come out with ignorant statements and then they try to backtrack. It's just one of those things that really frustrates me, and I'm sure frustrates you as well.
Oh, 100%. I know you guys, you mentioned Tirico last night. I caught that as well during that storm delay. And I was like, how are you defending this? And especially as a Black American himself, it's like,
yes,
come on here. Like, that's just that kind of language, regardless of when it was, whatever, it should never be spoken. That the comments that Stephen A. Had about Shohei Ohtani, you guys touched upon that as well. I used to watch his show all the time. I will not watch Stephen A. Smith on TV anymore. I will not listen to him on the radio. If I see him on SportsCenter or whatever, I'm changing the channel. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not getting my time of day. He is not.
Right.
Because those kind of statements, and he never apologized.
No,
Not once.
no,
He
never did.
never came out with an apology. You know what? He just kind of, oh, well, I'm ESPN's highest paid guy. What are they going to do? They're going to fire me and then pay my salary. You know, you have to have consequences of that. And I'd love to hear what Mina Kimes had to say about that. I mean, they're coworkers. She
Yes.
works for she works for ESPN as well. She
Sure.
is a up and coming, massive female Asian media face. And I didn't see any comments from her about it. And I would have loved to have her and Stephen A sit down and hash it out in front of everybody.
Yes.
Because that's something that
totally.
he didn't have to do. They just kind of, he said those things and everyone pretended like he didn't, which really was, it's just so difficult to watch, and, there's no accountability. It hurts.
And
I'm glad you brought up. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to make one quick comment. I'll let you have the last word, Stephen. The fact is that, like, someone like Sage Steele, who talks about vaccination, criticizes the mouse, criticizes Mickey Mouse and Disney, gets taken off the air. But yet when you have someone like Stephen A. Smith, who makes $12 million a year for a high salary, say something about Asians, and a high profile Asian pitcher at that, and still doesn't get disciplined, there's a hypocrisy over at ESPN. And there's a hypocrisy, and it's saying that, well, if you criticize other minorities, it's okay. But when you criticize the mouse, that's when you get disciplined.
Yeah, that's again, it's a difficult pill to swallow. That's not how it should be. Apparently that there seems like it's different rules for different people.
Right.
We're not all playing in the same. It's not all in the same plane. Which again, it comes down to that. I do not understand. I've always been, like I said before, I've always been a guy I'm a merit guy. You earned it, you get it, and then that's not merit. That's favoritism, and we're just not playing in the same field there.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought up Mikey. This was something that was always somewhat been bothering me about Mina. She's a rising star. There's no question about that. And if we're ever lucky enough, Ken and I would love to have her on the show down the road. Although it seems like a long shot, but. But we forgot about Pablo Torre, who's also a Filipino American, and he's been very, very vocal about the AAPI issues on the show and his podcast for a long time. And like you pointed out, Mikey, Mina hasn't really been out and about on this issue, and I do remember catching around the horn Twitter when Tony Reale brought it to, I forgot when it was, when both Pablo and Mina were on the show, and then Tony threw it to about the AAPI racism. And that was like the first time I ever heard Mina talk about AAPI racism. And that was something that I was always bothered by. I don't want to say a lack of actions or compassion, but that was always been something that was kind of like, I've never heard Mina openly talk about this. Did you get that sense yourself, Mikey?
Yeah, I would say so as well. Her in the position that she's at, I mean, what other AAPI person is as high as she is, at that level? Like, she is the top right now. She's that person. And
absolutely,
I think she has an obligation to have a voice in that because of her stature along ESPN. And it is unfortunate. I really would have, I'm still a fan of hers, so don't get me wrong.
We're fans of hers too.
Right. And I would like to see some people, take up the mantle and take a little bit of responsibility. If I was, if that was me, and if I was in that situation, I would have spoken up. And, I think that, I don't know if she's afraid because of job security, which could 100% be the case. As we pointed out with Sage Steele, minorities don't get the benefit of the doubt, unfortunately. And so, there's got to be some sort of reason why she hasn't spoken out. As outspoken as she is on other issues, for this one, for her not to be outspoken in is a bit, it's a bit odd to me.
Mm-hmm. And quite disappointing. Mike Chen of the USA Today Network and former producer extraordinaire, we thank you so much for being our very first guest on the AA team. We appreciate it. We're going to have you back. We have just brushed the surface. We have not even gotten into what we really want to get into. But Mike, I really appreciate you being our very first guest on the premiere show of the AA team.
Mikey, thank you so much. And we really wanted to kind of delve into your work covering Notre Dame and the state of Notre Dame football, which is obviously a big thing in Chicago with so many alumni in the area. But we definitely would love to have you come back on and talk more about the Notre Dame football and the current state and the direction under Brian Kelly, president future.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Anytime, just let me know. I'll make some time for you guys.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you so much, and the AA team will continue after this.
Thank you, Mikey.
The coaching, I both coached Griffin and Dylan in youth football, but that had just ended. It was Dylan's season had just ended, and when Griffin passed away, and so then, as I said, my mom, she had prior to Griffin passing away, though, it was a Mother's Day, actually the day after Mother's Day that very year, she found out she had stage 4 uterine cancer. And so she survived just a lethal surgery where they removed a lot. And so she somehow survived that, only to 8 months later pass away. And so there was kind of a rough time there where for me it felt like everybody was going, nobody was coming.
Yeah.
And so I that led me to a serious bout of depression, to the point where in August of 2015 I actually shot myself and in the head, underneath the chin, and with the intention of not being here. And so as I look back now, everything I didn't have to live for, I now have to live for. And so it was just a period of time where life was tough. And it was, once you get down, what my experience is, once I got down that low, it didn't feel like it was ever going to end, and unless I ended it.
We're back with the AA team. This is the premiere edition, and we're very happy you're with us. Ken Fang along with Steven Negishi. Our next segment is going to talk a little bit about the NFL and a little bit about anything else we want to discuss. So many things happened over the weekend, Steven. So many things happened with our teams. My Browns, your Bears, my Red Sox, the White Sox. So many things happened. Let's first off discuss a little bit about the NFL, some quick rapid fire stuff. First of all, your reactions. Of course, we are the Barroom Network. We are mostly Bears centric. So let's start off with your Bears.
Yeah, it was a terrific victory. It was kind of poetic that it happened to be the last game for John Gruden, and Khalil Mack's revenge game and everything finally took place. I enjoyed the commitment to the run, even without David Montgomery. I thought Bill Lazor did a hell of a job utilizing both Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert, another late round find by embattled Ryan Pace. Justin Fields looked a little shaky in the beginning. He took some unnecessary hits. We all caught our breath when he hyperextended his knee. I thought it was going to be much more serious, but he came back through his first touchdown and really came on strong to late in the ball game, converting some huge third downs to move the chain, the clock. The defense, as usual, was awesome, really harassing David Carr and the entire Raiders throughout the game. They looked quite off, to be honest. I don't know if the comments were like a big cloud that was hanging over them, but throughout the game, it didn't seem right for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sorry, but it's a huge win. At least the Bears are above 500, and this week's Packers game has a significant meaning once again.
And I have to say that Khalil Mack had a little revenge on John Gruden with the big sack of Derek Carr late in the game. So I would have to say that, as you mentioned, the Bears sent out John Gruden in style and sent him out of the NFL. And I'm sure that it's a little bit. I'm sure Khalil Mack is smiling a little bit wider today, knowing that John Gruden is out of the NFL.
Oh, without a doubt, he got run out of town. The picks and the players that the Raiders have gotten since that trade, the only one worth mentioning is Brandon Jacobs, but pretty much everybody else is either gone or not even making any contribution at all. So I think with Gruden officially gone, we can probably say the Bears have won the deal. But it would be nice if Mac can win a Super Bowl ring or two before he retires, for sure.
Absolutely. As a person living in New England, I know it sounds strange that I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. One day I will get into how I became a Cleveland Browns fan living in the heart of New England, but we don't have time for that. But let me talk a little bit about my Browns, who had a track meet with the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday. They had a great chance to win the game, had an opportunity. Baker Mayfield was lights out, doing very well with throwing to his targets, even though he didn't have, he didn't have Landry. He also didn't have a lot of his regular targets, but still, they had an opportunity to win. Kevin Stefanski's clock management was really baffling, especially when they gained 12 yards in a matter of 1 minute, when they had a minute and a half to go to basically win the game and get a winning touchdown. Stefanski says he's still thinking about that. He's got to really think long and hard and he doesn't want to become the Les Miles of the NFL and clock management, which we all know about Les Miles and the LSU, when his LSU days, when he had really bad clock management. So, but to be honest with you, Steven, I don't know how much you saw of the game, but I saw a lot of it on NFL Red Zone, as I was getting back from work yesterday. Very frustrating as a Browns fan just to see that type of play, especially when they had practically 58 minutes of great football and you lose it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, when you put up 42 points, normally that's a W.
Yes.
Whether you're at home or on the road. And I got to tell you, that's a huge statement win for the Chargers. Justin Herbert is emerging as a top 5 quarterback in the future. It's a hell of a game. I saw glimpses here and there on the NFL Network's highlights, and it was a very exciting shootout wins that a lot of us Bears fans are clamoring for, because we're still very much challenged offensively. Even with the Justin Fields at quarterback, we just don't have the same O-line and skills players to, go in a shootout. It's very, very difficult just yet. So, we're very envious. We saw firsthand how great the Browns are a couple of weeks ago when your Browns kicked the Bears' ass really pretty badly on Justin Fields' first start, which he looks completely unprepared, and really the national media eviscerated Matt Nagy all over the sports channel which he clearly deserved. But after winning the last 2 games, we shall see. Nagy's not out of the woods yet, to be honest. But he and the rest of the Bears need to continue to show significant offensive improvements if Nagy is going to be back in 22 and beyond.
Also, another player in the Chargers arsenal, Austin Eckler, one of the players who really does well and has really become a star in this league, becoming now both a threat both on the ground as he's a running back, but also in catching passes as well. I know fantasy owners like myself are very happy to have Austin Eckler on their teams, but to be honest with you, Austin Eckler was a surprise, I think, to me and a lot of other people, because people are not thinking about that he would be so productive, at least so far in this young season. But Steven, I just really am impressed with him.
Yeah, he doesn't look like the typical running back. He's not a bruising big 210, 220 types. The battering ram types. Not Nick Chubb. The Browns. You're very familiar with seeing, but he's definitely a very productive player for them, and without him, I don't think they're going to be as explosive and as productive, or nowhere near where they are record-wise at 4-1. So, as long as he's healthy, he's had some injuries in the past, but as long as his body holds up, I think Chargers will continue to be dominant and explosive, especially with the Chiefs looking like a very, very mediocre team right now, including last night's debacle on Sunday Night Football.
Right. And quickly on that, the Buffalo Bills have made a big statement with their win on Sunday night, the rain delayed and lightning delayed game, which went into here on the East Coast, 12:30 in the morning. Very tough to stay up, but but still a very big statement win for the Buffalo Bills. I have a feeling that they are very much going to be a challenger for the Super Bowl this season, and could possibly, if they do stay injury free with that defense, are going to be challengers to possibly win their first Super Bowl. That's how I think how good they are at this point, Steven.
Yeah, without a doubt, that was a statement win. Nobody wants to go up there in January in that cold and the wind. So I think they're definitely a AFC contender right now. Right now it seems like Baltimore right now is losing. They haven't looked good at all. AFC West is going to be pretty much a dogfight pretty much till the end. Nobody's going to challenge Buffalo in the East. AFC South is another mediocre division right now. So Buffalo is definitely the class of AFC right now.
Right. Quickly to baseball, the Boston Red Sox have advanced to the American League Championship Series. They had help with a very strange call on Monday night with a ball that in the 13th inning that went off of Hunter Renfroe and into the Boston bullpen. What basically happened, if you didn't see the game, the Red Sox and Rays were tied going into the 13th inning. It was a tension convention, as I like to say, at Fenway Park. Ball hit deep. Runner was on first base, looked like he was going to score rather easily, but the ball hit Renfroe, went off of him, and then went into the bullpen. It was ruled a ground rule double, so instead of the runner allowing to score, he was given 2 bases. It was ruled a ground rule double, strikeout for the next batter, and then the Red Sox won on the home run by Christian Vasquez, home run the next inning. And also the Chicago White Sox had a very strange play as well. So very interesting plays that we saw in baseball on Monday that led to a lot of controversy and a lot of talk about the rules.
Absolutely. The White Sox managed to stay alive in Game 3. They exploded offensively, and they got the job done. And, today the game unfortunately got rained out pretty early. I know a lot of people on Twitter that I follow were complaining that they should have probably announced it a little bit earlier, before people had actually gone into the city, or at least were on their way to the city. But nonetheless, they're still down 2-1. Tomorrow, if the weather holds up, it's a do or die still for the White Sox. You know, a lot of questions are being made about La Russa's rotation. Lance Lynn, the workhorse in Game 1, were hit pretty hard. Unfortunately, his fastball were being targeted a lot. Ryan Tepera made some comments about the Astros being a cheater. So this series, no matter how it ends, it will likely carry on to next year and beyond. You know, with the history of the Astros.
One quick correction that we have to make. Stephen A. Smith did apologize about his comments to Shohei Ohtani. He did make an apology on Twitter, as you see on the screen. He did make that a apology, so we have to make that quick correction. We want to be as accurate as possible. One thing on the AA team is that we always want to be as accurate as we can. So we did make that apology out following his statements on Shohei Ohtani. I know we mentioned that he didn't apologize, but he did indeed do so. Well, we went, Stephen, I like to say that this very first show went extremely well, and I'm very happy to have been part of it with you.
Likewise, Ken. This was something that I wanted to do. I'm not trying to become the next big talk show host or any of that kind of stuff. But you know, in this day and age of you know, internet, YouTube, and social media, a lot of people can become have their own show and have their opinions. You know, you don't necessarily have to go mainstream to be big nowadays. And our goal is to always give AAPI personalities their voices. You know, we made it happen, and we want to give AAPI personalities out there like Mike Chen tonight their stories, their background, and state of the industry. And we will also want to bring on non-AAPI people, you know, the white people that Mikey was referring to, who believe in the equality and injustices that the minorities face in this country, and also those who want to see a greater increase in diversity, not just in this industry, but also within this country as well.
And of course, we invite your comments. We invite your criticisms, negative. We also will read them. We'll also, as long as they're constructive and also not in a really nasty way, but we also will read them, and we will take everything into heart. This has been the AA team. My name is Ken Fang, and that's Steven Negishi. Thank you very much for joining us on the premiere edition of the AA team. We'll be back again soon, and we'll have more voices from the AAPI community and sports media. And also, you're hearing Samson in the back. He also wants to be heard as well. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next time, folks.